Salutations all, and welcome back to another kitchen adventure. Now we're definitely going on a journey today. I'm stepping out of my comfort zone to bring you a little bit of something. I don't typically bake, but when I do, it's generally sweets. Walk along on this path with us as we go to satisfy our sweet tooth and hopefully yours, getting ready for all those great holidays that are coming up or just a simple breakfast. Today, we're doing cinnamon rolls. Now, before we jump into it all, go ahead and scroll down, check out your mise en place, right? Everything that you're going to need, gather all that good stuff. Come on back, let's get into it.
All right, so what we're going to start with is our dough mixture. That's going to be your warm milk. And the milk you want to warm up, you can do it in a pan or you can do it in the microwave, probably like 30 seconds at a time. Not too hot, less than 110 degrees, so about the temperature you would generally wash your hands at if you're doing it properly. Again, get that in there. And then we're going to go in with our yeast, and we're using a quick rise or instant yeast, which is also why you don't want that milk to be too hot, okay? So if you're using an instant yeast, you don't have to worry about allowing it to bloom. You can just mix it all in there. It's going to work out just fine. But if you're using a more standard yeast, you're definitely going to want to let that bloom, which means you're going to put it in there in the liquid, right? Generally, we add a little sugar to that even. It allows the yeast to activate and all that good jazz. But follow the instructions of the packs that you have. All right? So we're going to mix that in there, get it all good and started. And then we're going to go in with the rest of those ingredients. Our sugar, our salt, our butter as well. Everything else in that section can go in. Get your egg and the extra yolk as well, right? For us, our bargaining agent. So our fats, our salts, a little bit of that sugar. Even though you really can't taste the sweetness on a conscience level in the dough, it's there. Your body knows it's there. Alright, we're going to mix all that in really well. And then I like to kind of baby the flour in towards the end. So once I get a good, nice, creamy mixture with the rest of my ingredients, I add a little bit of flour to start it off. Try to make sure that I can get all the chunks out, and then we start working the rest of that in. If you have a sifter, you can also sift that flour in there. That helps to add a lot of air to your mix, to your dough. Keeps things loose, and you don't have to worry about having chunks. Now, depending on what kind of flour that you're going to use, if you don't have a bread flour, you can use all-purpose. This is actually what I'm using in this recipe. Every flour is going to be a little bit different in the way that they behave. You can do a little bit of research. Actually, quite interesting. But it is all right to use what you've got. Now, like I said, I'm using all-purpose flour. And my dough is going to be a little bit more tacky, right? So you're going to see me adding a lot of flour throughout as I want to dry it out a little bit, if you will. Make it a little more workable. Now, the reason that mine is a little more wet, I know it, but I don't have to tell you. Okay, I added a lot more butter. I couldn't help myself. I'm sorry. It's big back behavior. So again, it's alright if your dough is a little bit tacky, right? You see how mine is. I'm just going to hit it with a little flour and just keep working, baby. That's all we got to do. Keep it working. We want to get it to a point where it's a nice, manageable ball of dough that we can pick up and handle. Just keep working it. Alright. Wanted to get my spatula there. and scrape up all that stuff, right? We don't want to waste any of our product, or as little as we can possibly manage. And there I'm just folding in a little more flour into the mix to, again, tighten up that dough, get it to a point where I can better manage and handle it so we can get on to the next step. So, it's alright. If you don't have access to a mixer, you just want to make sure you get some good stretches, stretch those forearms, crack those knuckles. You're going to want to put in a lot of work, but hopefully you can get access to a good old mixer. So in goes our dough, and we want to set that with the dough hook onto a medium setting, whatever that is for your machine. You're going to let it go for about 8 to 10 minutes and just let that dough tighten on up. Alright, so as you see again, still a little more tacky than I like. Just going to hit it with a little more flour so I can work it out of the bowl and get it into the next bowl. Alright, so once we've got a manageable ball, I've got a nice greased mixing bowl set aside that we're going to set this in. The next thing we're going to do is the long process, which is allowing this to rise. So I put mine in with a slightly damp towel, warm, and then cover that, and then we're going to cover the entire bowl with plastic, set it aside, and let it do its thing. It's going to be about an hour, hour and a half. Really, you just want to let the dough double in size, depending on where you're at in your atmosphere. If you have more humidity, maybe you're down further in the south, it might be a little faster. So just keep an eye on it. So while we're waiting on that, we might as well jump into our filling. Crazily simple. Sugar, butter, cinnamon. And for the rest of it, you really just use your imagination. See, I've got a bag of pecans there. You know, listen, we're in the South. You know, we've got to use what's around us. So in that bowl, you saw I've got the butter and my sugar and cinnamon mix. And I'm just trying to incorporate that all together really, really well and make it nice and smooth, right? Because we're going to want to spread that on our dough. Don't forget about the nut. Alright, so my dough is ready to come out of the bowl. It has doubled in size. I went and got my KD rating up while I waited, so I'm going to get my counter ready for it. So again, it's a little more flour because I know that it's going to stick. So I'm just going to give it a little light loving here to get it coated really well. An anti-chafe situation. Now, my house at this point is pretty warm, so my dough is still pretty loose, so I'm kind of babying it out. And ideally, you want to try to get it into a rectangle, right? Or as close as possible to a rectangle. That's just, I don't know, that's just a personal preference. Do what you like. I don't judge, you know, however you identify your shapes. But I like to try to go for a rectangle. And again, a little bit warm, so I'm babying it. I'm trying not to put too much pressure because I don't want to push too much of the air out of that dough and have it to be too flat again, right? Even though once we've got it rolled, we're going to let it double again in size before we bake it. But again, just taking my time, right? Baking is definitely an art of patience, so take your time. Okay, so look, I'm running out of counter space, so I'm pretty good with where I'm at with this right here. Alright, so, again, I've got my spread put on the side. One thing that's really important too, and you'll see once I get to the rolling aspects, because it is still really warm, as I go to cut them, it's kind of giving it a mash. We kind of want to avoid mushing it down, right? So something that you can do is get it onto a sheet pan or some kind of platter. You can pop it into the refrigerator and cool it a little bit. It'll firm it up, make it a little more easy to manage, okay? All right, so our spread, right? you just want to cover the entire inside as evenly as possible. And remember, I have the chopped pecans, so I'm going to also add that. Now, back to cutting our dough. As I stated before, you can put it into the refrigerator, let it tighten up a little bit, makes it a little easier to cut. I'm using a dough knife or a scraper. You can see that sitting there. You can use dental floss, works really, really well, helps to really slice through. But remember, if it does go into your refrigerator, it's going to take a little bit longer to come back to room temp and then get back up to temp, because you still have to let it proof. So keep that in mind. Beside that, I'm just not a patient chubby kid, and I need to get my sweets as quickly as possible. So we're going to make a little bit of a mess, but we're going to get our cinnamon rolls done quickly. Nice even spread there. And remember, it's all about what you like. If you want to go heavier on the cinnamon, maybe hit it again before the roll. You know, whatever it is that you want to do, the world is your oyster. If you add any other ingredients that would add moisture, say for instance you want to go chocolate chips, keep in mind that you are offsetting your liquid levels there, so you might have to bake it a little longer, right? So it's nice and not gooey. I don't really know how else to explain that. I apologize. Alright, so we're going to get this mess rolled up and cut up. I have my oven set at 450 degrees. I'm lying, I don't. I just wanted to see if you were going to follow instructions. The oven is preheated to 350 degrees. And once we get these bad boys into our greased pan, and they have doubled in size, we're going to get them into that oven, and we're going to let them bake for about 30 to 45 minutes. No! How dare you? We're really only going to bake those for about 20 to 25 minutes. Alright, I'm just playing, guys. It's been a long day. 350 into the oven, right? 20 to 25 minutes. So you see there, they've doubled up in our pan. They are ready to go into the oven for 20 to 25 minutes at 350 degrees. Now for your icing, that's really up to you. You can be really nice and you can go with a cream cheese based icing with some sugar and butter and a little vanilla. You can go the cheaper route and use milk and a little powdered sugar. I went even cheaper than that, and I went with a little water, powdered sugar, and vanilla. It's still delicious. I was just trying to cut a little butter out, okay? Now, as you can see, I just pulled these right out of the oven. I like to hit mine with my nice drizzle right out of the oven. I like them while they're still hot, so it'll really melt that stuff down in there and absorb it, right? Then, once they've cooled, I do it again. I didn't say we were making something healthy. I said we were making delicious things, okay? You just got to moderate your own life. Don't take it out on me. Thank you guys. We really do appreciate you coming. Now enjoy this drawn out, dramatic, slow motion drizzle. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to comment. Tell us what you want to see. Check out our other videos. Help us out. We just want to share what we love with you. See you guys on the next adventure. Appreciate it.